What's up guys? Today is January 7th, 2024, and exactly 1 year ago today I started this channel. Boy, there's been a lot of ups and downs with the channel, successes and failures, but I wouldn't be here making this video if it wasn't for you guys, so thank you very much to everybody that supported me since day one. If you're new here and you want to support me through year two, you know what to do. But let's get right into the topic of today's video, and that is what I've learned over the course of this year. So here's the top 10 things that I've learned in 1 year in the aquarium hobby. Number 10, filtration matters. Now, it doesn't mean that you need filtration. For example, my 3-gallon fish bowl here has never had a filter on it ever, and as you can tell, water's crystal clear, fish are happy, plants are doing well. Let's see if I can bump the brightness up there for you so you can see. Everybody's doing good here. But that fish bowl only has 8 nanofish and a few shrimp in it, so there's no bioload. If you're going to have any kind of significant bioload, bigger filtration is just going to save you more time and hassle. This 22-gallon shrimp tank here, while it doesn't look like it would have a big bioload in it, there's a lot of shrimp and a lot of food that goes in here, and I filter it with a Fluval 107. I tried going smaller on the filtration and it just didn't work. This 10-gallon aquarium, it's filtered with a Fluval 107. The 75-gallon bass tank, it has a Fluval 407 in it. Now this particular aquarium, I did a video on whether filtration matters or not. It was a pretty popular video on the channel, so go check it out if you want, link in description. Now in those examples you saw all Fluval filters. This is not a pitch for Fluval, I just really like the 7 series filters. I don't have to maintain them, touch them, nothing, they work great. But the point is that having a good filter like that, even on a 10-gallon aquarium, it just makes your life a lot easier. So number 10, big filtration. The bigger you can afford, the better. Number 9, you're gonna lose fish. I'm sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. If you're in this hobby long enough, you're gonna lose fish. If you run an open-topped aquarium like me, they're gonna jump out. I don't know, they chase each other around at night. You come in the morning, you find one on the carpet. It's just the way that it is. And at that point, there's nothing you can do about it. In other instances, maybe they just weren't healthy from the place that you got the fish, or maybe they just got old. Point is, we're dealing with animals that have a shorter lifespan. You're gonna lose fish. Sorry. Number 8, good lighting is worth the investment. Okay, this one's gonna be a little controversial. This aquarium looks pretty bright, right? And it's got a Hygger light on it. This aquarium's running a Hygger light. This aquarium has a Hygger light. Probably the most popular aquarium on the channel running a Hygger light, and 2 Hygger lights on the bass tank. So why did I show you all the Hygger lights? Well, they are at the lower end of the price point scale when it comes to aquarium lighting. They're readily available on Amazon, links in description. And as you see, they grow plants well, but they grow them a little bit slower. And let me show you a more extreme example. Here's a 10-gallon Iwagumi that I set up, and the carpeting plant here is dwarf baby tears, and you can see it's trying to take root and grow in, but the growth is very, very slow. What is the lighting in this? Well, it is just some under cabinet lighting that you can get at like your hardware store. I got these on Amazon, but while the Kelvin rating is 6500, the output lumen is very low, and the plants respond to low light with slow growth. Compare that to an aquarium that's been set up for about the same amount of time, and here is the same dwarf baby tears, but look at the growth in this aquarium. That's what you're looking for when you want to do a carpet of dwarf baby tears. And what is lighting this aquarium? Well, it's a LANDEN Aqua Bright 45. Now this isn't the most expensive light you can get on the market either, but LANDEN lighting is pretty powerful for the price point. This little 45 centimeter light actually puts out about 3,000 lumens if I remember correctly. And of course you can adjust your temperature, but those that have watched this build, you know, within 2 weeks, we had a carpet. We've all seen the high-end aquascaping channels, right? And you're like, man, I really wish I could get my tanks to look like that. Well, I figured it out. They all use very expensive lighting. If you can afford to wait and you have slower growing plants, the Hygger lights work great. Keep it at a lower budget. But if you want that accelerated plant growth, you want those red root floaters to be super red, or you just have that perfectly aquascape tank that you want to keep vibrant green, you might want to go with a higher end light. Number 7, ferts work. Ferts? Fertilizer. Yes. For the longest time, I didn't use fertilizer. I figured, I don't need it. I got substrate. It should be good, right? Maybe you got a dirted tank. I don't need fertilizer. You know, dirted tank is going to provide all the nutrients it needs. Well, I'm not going to be on this subject very long here, but I've been recently experimenting with fertilizers. Since I've been dosing fertilizer twice a week, the plant growth has been intense. All those little holes in the leaves have gone away. The browning of the leaves have gone away, yada, yada, yada. So if you're struggling with your plants, just use fertilizers. Keeping on the subject of plant growth, we've got the fertilizers, we've got the light, now you need the CO2. Yep, that's right. The hype is true. CO2 works. Now you can go with a DIY CO2 system. I happen to use the ZRDR DIY systems off of Amazon, citric acid baking soda style. Here's a 4 liter. There's a 2 liter version on the floor here. And there's another DIY CO2 down here. But here's a sneak peek of another video coming up. This is the liquid CO2 system. Here's another high pressure liquid CO2 system. And another high pressure liquid CO2 system. And with CO2, you get plant growth like this. Floating plants even enjoy it like this. Some more finicky plants like S. repens, or even your Anubiases, they enjoy it. Point is, guys, if you want to help nature along a little bit, reduce your chance of algae, and just make your job a little bit easier, run CO2. So I hope you can see I'm not making things up. I run CO2 on just about every aquarium I have. Number 5, low maintenance plants are better. Okay, maybe they're not better, but they make your job a lot easier. See, stem plants are great, but when you're combining fertilizers, CO2, and heavy light like I explained earlier, you're gonna have massive plant growth, which means you have to trim all the time. You're even gonna have to remove plants in some instances like I have to do with this Pentatophyta on a regular basis. I mean, look at it, it's just growing like crazy. This 40-gallon grow-out tank was recently replanted with just little pieces of plant, and it's already growing like crazy. You can see it's going to need a trim soon. Now, while this is a propagation tank and that's the point, a little bit different, there's all the Pentatophyta I had to remove just a week ago from other tanks. In comparison to the 10-gallon low-maintenance Molly tank, I don't do anything to this aquarium. We just kind of feed the fish and we enjoy it since it's in our living room. Get your finger off of the little keyboard there. Don't write the hate comments, right? This is a personal preference, of course. Some people will love the heavy stem planted look, and maybe you're going for that Dutch style aquarium or something like that. Fine. I mean, just be aware that the maintenance is going to be pretty heavy on it. Me, with as many tanks as I have, I'm starting to move into more of the low maintenance plants like your epiphytes or your slow growing rooted plants like Cryptocoryne nuri or any of the crypts, your S. repens. Those kind of slower growing plants just makes your life a little easier. So that one, controversial. Number 4, you don't need a heater. Now wait, again, get your finger off the keyboard. I know if you got a bed of fish or you're running like German blue rams or something, keeping German blue rams or something like that, yes, you're gonna need a heater for certain species, but you don't need a heater in every aquarium. If you're gonna be keeping the common nanofish like guppies or rasboras, mollies, cories, which are breeding right now, all your species of tetras, there's some more rasboras, and even all of your aquarium shrimp, you're not going to need a heater. I don't run a heater on any of my aquariums yet. I do want to get some rams, so I will have to run a heater then, but all of my plants grow fine, all of my fish are breeding, my shrimp are breeding. Just keep your aquariums at room temperature. You know, most of us keep our house about 70 degrees. You're gonna be fine. A lot of my tanks even get down to 68 degrees. I have no issues. So personal preference again, but you don't need heaters in all of your aquariums. Okay, we're down to the last 3. And number 3 is water quantity does not dictate water quality. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there's a big myth in the aquarium hobby that the bigger the tank you have, the more stable the water conditions are gonna be or the water parameters, and the less work it's gonna be for you. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm pretty sure that's BS. It's not the size of the aquarium, it's the bioload in the aquarium, okay? Let me give you an example or two. Let's just kick it off with something extreme. Look at how crystal clear this water is. Can you guess the size of this aquarium? Well, let me back the camera out a little bit. It's on my desk and it's about the size of my hand. This is a half-gallon aquarium, and you know what? I don't do anything to it. Yes, it has a filter in it, but I rarely change the filter floss. And it just has a couple of shrimp. This is my culling tank, and I just don't touch it. And this has half a gallon in it. All I do is top the water off. Those that have been around the channel for a while, you're wildly familiar with my no-filter fish bowl here. Just 8 chili rasboras and a couple of shrimp in here. I never touch this bowl. Again, I top the water off. I do check the parameters now and again to make sure there's no issues, but everything's just working fine. The plants are growing fine. The shrimp are, I don't know, they're around there somewhere. They're blue, so they're hard to see, but I never touched this bowl. 5-gallon blue ram's horn snail breeding tank. Never touch it. Low bioload. 5-gallon red snail breeding aquarium. Don't really touch it. Low bioload. 20-gallon guppy breeding tank. I do have to maintain this a little bit more. However, the plant load does help me out. The water quality, I do lots of water changes on this. While these are nano fish, there's a lot of them in there, and they create quite a bit of waste. But now let's go in here and show you the biggest example. And here's the 75-gallon, my most problematic tank when it comes to water quality. There is a pretty heavy plant load in here, though I have been selling a lot of them recently, so the plant load is down a little bit. But this aquarium has a largemouth bass in it, and well, he's got a large mouth and a large you-know-what else, and so he produces a lot of waste. Also, he eats live food, and so I buy his food 5 dozen at a time, and they produce a lot of waste as well. So even though this is a 75-gallon aquarium, the nitrate level rises so fast that I have to do frequent water changes about every 2 weeks, and I do pretty heavy water changes, about 65 to 70%, just to keep the nitrate level under control. On the test, it's bright red every single time. So there's a lot of factors that come into play when we talk about water quality, but some of these YouTubers just tell you, oh, bigger tank, less worries, your water parameters don't change at all. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not true. So get whatever aquarium you want. If you want a nano aquarium for your desk at work, just keep the bio load very low and enjoy it. Put some plants in it, you'll have fun. You want to build a custom 3,000-gallon aquarium and load it with sharks? All right, fine, go ahead and do that, but if you're feeding them sharks, you're going to have a heavy bio load, you're going to have a lot of waste, you're going to have a lot of nitrates. That's just the way fish keeping is. Number 2, I don't care who you are or how much experience you have, how big your tank is, how small your tank is, how many plants you have or how few you have, you're going to have algae. It's part of nature, it's part of fish keeping, and those people that say, I never get algae, are just plain lying to you. You might be able to control the algae, you might be able to get rid of it for a little bit. You may have a brand new setup and it looks pristine with no algae. But I'm telling you, algae is part of fish keeping. Now I could take you around my house and show you all of the 14 aquariums I currently have and show you that every single one of them has some form of algae in it. But you know, for sake of length of the video, I'm not gonna do that. I think you get the point. It's pretty simple. You're gonna have algae, man. So deal with it, embrace it. Some of it actually looks pretty cool. And I've seen YouTubers that actually have algae tanks, and that is the Aquascape. Pretty neat idea. But don't be upset. You've got algae, I've got algae. They all have algae. Everyone has algae. And finally, number 1, multiple tank syndrome is a lot of work. Yep, I said it. We all have probably been there, and if we haven't gotten there yet, you probably are thinking about getting there. Look, having multiple tanks is great, don't get me wrong. I love having a different variety of fish. I kind of like to do species-only tanks, so I do enjoy having multiple setups, multiple aquascapes, and of course, being a YouTuber, I have to have a lot of setups or you guys get bored and you won't watch the channel. Hey look, multiple tank syndrome is a blast, don't get me wrong. I can't wait for the day where I have a big studio with 100 aquariums in it like MD Fish Tanks does, but just realize that it starts to become a full-time job. You're gonna have a second job in the evening and on the weekends. With 14 tanks, I don't do just weekend maintenance. I have to do something every single night when I get off of my day job. Otherwise, I can't keep up with them. Now that might be just trimming a couple of plants in a tank or moving an algae eater from one tank to another to kind of help control some algae or something like that. Maybe it's a water change on one aquarium, but I do something every night so that when the weekend comes, well, I can record a video like this for you guys. I still have to do a lot of maintenance on the weekend, and that's the bulk of my time that I have free. But this channel and 14 aquariums has become a second job. Just realize that if you've got 1 or 2 aquariums and you're thinking, well, it doesn't take much time for me to maintain that, when you take that small amount of maintenance and you multiply it over multiple tanks, that time starts to add up. So enjoy the hobby, but be realistic in how many tanks you think you have time to maintain. After all, we wouldn't want the livestock to suffer just because we don't have time to maintain the tank, right? All right, and that brings us to the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was more of like a talking head style video, but that's my top 10 that I've learned over the years. There's many more that I could have bundled in here. I probably could have done a top 20, but for sake of length, we kept it to 10. So if you want to get involved, drop a comment. You know, maybe you don't agree with something I said, or maybe you have your own favorite thing you've learned. Drop a comment, let me know what your thoughts are. And once again, I want to thank you guys for your support over this past year. I really couldn't have done it without you guys. This coming year, I hope to make better content for you. I've got a better camera, which I'm still trying to learn how to use, and hopefully some more interesting topics for you guys. So thank you guys again for all of your support, and I'll catch you on the next one.